Hi, thank you so much for joining me for abs, thighs, glutes. My name is Audra, and tonight we're going to use a ball. If you don't have one at home, that's okay. You can use a pillow, just fold it a couple times. You can fold your mat a few times, or you can just do everything sans prop, just on the floor. Don't do anything that doesn't feel good, and let's have a good time. Let's start moving. So we're gonna sit in front of the ball and allow it to just kind of hang out mid-thoracic, right? So right below your shoulder blades. And just bring your hands behind your head. Your hands are going to be just a hammock for your head, and just start to allow yourself to extend over the ball. Just getting a little bit of back extension to start. And on your exhale, drag your ribs down towards your belly button, curl your collarbones forward, and just come up a bit. Good. Trying not to leave your head behind. So keep your chin gently nodded, and we'll look between our knees and then slowly lower. Exhale, curl forward and hold. Now bring your hands forward for me. Keep your ears pointing up towards the sky and push your hands into an imaginary surface. Now keep that amount of weight on the ball. Try not to let any more weight go onto it. So we bring our hands up. Oh, it's so much harder. Now interlace and then slowly extend. Trying to keep those ribs knitted as long as possible. Now, if you'd like a bit more height, scoot closer to your prop. Slide the ribs down. Hands come forward. Push them into an imaginary surface and hold. Good. Fingertips lift. Yeah. And then interlace and slowly lengthen down. As we lengthen down, still try to engage the abs a little bit so you can work them eccentrically. Inhale, exhale, curl, and push those fingertips into that imaginary wall. Anybody starting to tremble yet? Yeah, me too. The tremble always feels so good. Last one like this. Curl and push the fingertips into your imaginary surface. Hands up, interlace and hold. Now slide your feet a little bit closer to you. Now, if at any point you accidentally start sinking into it and putting more weight into the ball again, just bring your hands forward, reset, and there we go. Push one foot into the floor, float the other leg to tabletop. Good. Reach that knee away, push into your mat, toe ball heel, and then float the other leg up. Yeah. And slowly lower. Good. Thinking of the thigh bones sinking into the socket. Good. You can have your elbows slightly forward. Yeah. That helps, doesn't it? Yeah. Good. Couple more. And if at any point you need a break, can you take one? Yeah, breaks are great. Breaks are awesome. Almost there. Last one each side. And slowly lower all the way down. All right. Now, as you curl, one knee is going to curl toward your face. So curl forward, one knee lifts. And then slowly lengthen other side. And notice how each side is going to feel a little different, right? Good. Now, if you don't want to go into a full extension, that's okay. You can stop partway. It is more work on your abs. Good. Few more here. Just letting your hands relax and just be a hammock for your head. Two more. Last one. Go ahead, bring yourself back into that extension, and then scoot a little closer to your prop. Notice how the extension changes. Now, instead of curling forward, we're sinking those ribs down and just finding a straight line from the crown of our head to our tailbone. Even just holding this is a lot of work, isn't it? Yeah. Now curl just a little bit higher. And then try to keep those ribs drawing in and down as you just lower your head only, without putting more weight on the ball if you can help it. And then curl your ribs. Yep, and just flatten out. So instead of letting your head touch the ground this time, we are keeping it elevated, right? So if you're extending, see if you can keep the ribs drawing in and down. So the front of your body is keeping the extension out of the back of your body. And then just curl a little bit. Curl more towards the, yeah. Now that looks beautiful. Don't move anything from here down, just your head a little bit. Yeah, and even a little bit more with your head. Back just a little bit more. Yeah, right there. Is that more work? Yeah. And then curl up. Good. And then back, and then curl forward. Last one. And everybody curl all the way up. Nice. Go ahead and bring yourself just as close to your legs as you can get, right? Everybody's flexibility is different. Everybody's proportions are different. Your like kind of tiny nugget doesn't have to look like mine, okay? Now keeping your tiny nugget, just push one foot into the floor, rock back a bit until you touch the ball. Keep your tiny nugget though, yeah, and then forward. So if you can find wherever you are, try to maintain it on one side. So I kind of use my arms as a guide. Yeah, good. And then back. Nice. It's a little bit trickier because our nervous system wants to move our leg away from us to counterbalance, right? Now, if you're like, cool, that's pretty easy, move the ball a little bit away. Still push your foot into the floor. Yeah. Finding that sweet spot can be a moment. Yeah. Good. Two more. I heard that. And I also feel the exact same way. Yeah. Good. Last set. Inhale. Exhale. Yeah, it's much easier when the leg moves away from us. Last one. And now go ahead, bring both feet down, hands come behind the head, start to roll back until you make contact with the ball. Still support your head. Now bring your feet a little bit closer to you. We're gonna tuck our chin, but not lift our head. So our head is in line. Just press your feet into the floor, squeeze your glutes, lift your hips. Hamstring city, yeah? And then hips hinge, and then press and lift. And then hip hinge down. Good. It's not a huge movement here, but it should be effective, right? So we're intentionally squeezing the glutes because otherwise our hamstrings will try to do all of it. Right? Two more. Last one. Hold. Now, if this is appropriate, you can just keep hinging. Otherwise, we lift one heel only. Press that foot into the ground. Lift the other heel. Right. And back and forth a few more times. I'm going to move my feet a bit. Yeah, there we go. Now, if you want more excitement in your life, tap one fingertip down, float that leg up, and then switch. If you don't need that much excitement in your life, that's okay too. If you want more excitement, try to keep both hands behind your head. It's real exciting. Yeah, I prefer one fingertip on the ground to let me know where I am in space. Making sure we're not straining our neck. The neck doesn't actually need to help, but sometimes it thinks it does. And last one. Good, hips down, come into that little extension. None of you fell. I'm very, very proud. All right, we're gonna curl back up. Hands come forward. Good. And just start pumping your arms. Now, first and foremost, just relax everything and feel how you start kind of bouncing when the arms pump, right? So now let's reach our fingertips forward, close the ribs, and try to stabilize against the force of the arms. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Nice laser beam arms, right? So we're trying not to break at the wrist or the elbow. Good. Now, if this is where you are, fantastic. If you'd like to lift your legs to tabletop, awesome. If you want to start to send them away a little bit, also awesome. Or if you want to do hundreds in a perfectly supine position, that's also great, right? You can do it fully on the floor. You can do it in a chest lift, knees bent, or fully extended, right? Any variation is great. Whatever works best for you and your body is where I'd like you to be today. Good. We're almost there. Relax your neck. Thank you. Think about the abs stabilizing you, not your scalenes, right? You have 4, 3, 2. Last one. Step 1 foot down, flip your palms. Now the arm that corresponds with the elevated leg is going to stay where it is. The other hand is going to come up and over. High five yourself because you deserve it. Yeah. And then back. And then we switch. Good. Yep. But hey, guess what? If you need to, take a break. Breaks are awesome. Maybe move the ball closer to you, right? This is still work. It's a little bit more supportive, right? Or you can always do this fully on the ground, right? Whether you have your head up or down, it's the same move, right? Good. Last 2, yeah. Rotate your torso to get the hand there. So it's a rotation as opposed to just sneaking that hand, right? We've got to reach that hand towards the fingers on the other side. And then hands come back behind your head. Move away from the ball if you need to. Nice extension. And curl yourself all the way up. Yeah, all the way. You guys are like, why? What are we going to do now? You'll see. You're going to bring the ball in between your knees. Hands come to your shins. Yeah. Shoulders draw down your back. And just kind of find your sits bones to start, right? If you're like, what are my sits bones? They're between your tailbone and your pubic bone, right? So we want to be in an upright position. Arms can come forward. Squeeze the prop. Curl your tailbone and start to roll back and hold. Squeeze the prop again, roll back a little bit more. Good. And again. Yep. And again. And again, until you come all the way down. Bring your hands overhead. Now do not be afraid to use your knees here, okay? Good, glad we had this talk. Inhale, curl forward an inch, and then an inch, and then an inch, and an inch, and an inch. Yeah, good. And again, I'm proud of you. Don't you touch that pad, you just killed it. Yeah. Now, can you use the pad? Of course. If you tend to have a tight lower back or tight hip flexors, sometimes having a pad underneath your spine helps you find a little bit of connection to the ground, right? That's great. Yeah. Good. And if you have a moment where you feel like you're getting stuck, right? You're like, I got this, I got this. Nope, stuck. We're going to talk about it. Instead of fighting with your body, right? Because that's actually not going to let our nervous system feel safe. And if it doesn't feel safe, it's not really going to let you do the thing, right? So if you're like, and I'm stuck, instead of fighting, just hold, bring your legs to tabletop, and push your legs into your hands to help you. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. You can also, in lieu of that, if that's a little too easy, slide your feet away from you. It lengthens your lever. Yeah, good. Yes, yes. So excited right now. You guys have no idea how good you look. If I had my phone on me, I'd just be like filming and showing you all how amazing you are. And last one. Restack. Hands come behind your head. Some of you know where this is going. You can always bring the ball behind you, okay? Otherwise, look down at your toes, curl your tailbone, and hold part of the way back. Now, once again, if you need the ball behind you for support, that's great. You can always bring your legs closer to you. Otherwise, we're gonna hold here. Don't move anything except the elbows. They're going to widen. And then they're closing in. Yep. Press your feet into the floor. Yeah. So much like what we did earlier where we pressed forward and then elevated, right? This just creates more work, right? Because we are flexing our torso and then we are using our scapular retractors as well as the weight of our arm changing. If you're like, this isn't that hard, roll back farther. Yeah. 2 more. Last one. And then hands come forward, help yourself all the way down. Take your prop, we're gonna slide it underneath our hips. So elevate your hips. And then just kind of feel where the ball is. If it's on your lower back, I'd like it just a little bit lower so it's right on that triangular bone, your sacrum. And if it's like about to shoot out from underneath you, you can get a little closer to it. Now let your back just relax down. If you're in a tiny posterior tilt, that's okay. Now before we do anything, we're taking our hands and placing them on the outsides of our ribs, like thumbs wrapping around. Now on your inhale, I want you to expand into your hands. And on your exhale, draw away from your hands. Feel how your ribs move from side to side. Inhale. And then exhale. Now, our hip bones do the exact same thing, just smaller. So take your hands, place them on your hip bones. And then inhale wide into your hands. And then exhale, draw your hip bones away from your hands. Do you feel how that gets your low abs to kick on a little bit more? Yeah. Let's try that again. Now, the other trick to get your low abs to kick on, make sure your glutes are soft, okay? As you exhale, think about your sacrum just being a little bit heavier. Like there's a ceiling that's slowly lowering and you want to draw the fronts of your abs away so much that you put more pressure on the ball, okay? So try that as well. Now next time, put enough pressure down that your feet want to lift, but you're not gonna let them yet. Everybody feel how much core work that takes without even moving? Good. Now bring one leg to tabletop, other leg comes to meet it, squeeze your inner thighs together like you're trying to pop a balloon. Hug your hip bones together, keep the weight on the ball, and let your toes start to drop down towards the floor. Inhale. Exhale, press down enough that the feet want to lift, and then allow them to. Yeah. And if you want to do one foot at a time, because you have more control, that's fine. If you want to do both legs at the same time, but you don't want to go very far, that's also great. If you feel your pelvis starting to shift, temper your range. Sometimes it's great to find something And then back off 10%, right? You can pause at your end range and then maybe try going a little farther if you want to really challenge yourself. Good. 2 more. Last one. Keep your legs at tabletop. Imagine pushing your feet into a wall. So hopefully the back line of your legs kicked on a little, and then keep pressing so much that your legs start to straighten, and then they can fold in. Now they don't have to go all the way straight, that's fine. They can pause. And sometimes, if we tend to be really quad or hip flexor dominant, sometimes we go immediately to a straight leg, quads do all the work, nothing else kicks on as much. So I'd rather you keep your toes a little bit lower, traveling on one line, and then pause before the quads take over, right? They can straighten, the legs are fine to straighten, but the straightening isn't necessarily the goal, yeah? Good. 2 more. Last one, extend the legs, hold. Now you're going to flex one foot, point the other toe. The toe that, or the foot that's flexed is going to lift, the toe that's pointed is going to reach down. Maybe your heel touches the ground, maybe it doesn't. And then switch, point, flex. Good. And just notice how one side, you might be like, yeah, I got this. And the other side is like, what do you mean you want me to get to the ground, right? Maybe one side can get to the ground with the knee straight and one has to bend, right? Just notice, don't judge, okay? This is a judgment-free zone. One more each side. And then slide everything in. Go ahead, tuck your tailbone and move the ball out from beneath you. Both feet come down. Go ahead, take your hands, place them on your thighs, and gently press your hands into your thighs, getting a little stretch through your back. Good. Now, you can always keep your feet on the floor. Otherwise, one leg at a time to tabletop, either a T position or a goalpost position. Keep the ribs down. Squeeze those inner thighs and let one hip tip and hold. Inhale. Exhale, drag the ribs back. Legs come along for the ride, right? And then other side. So if you think of your ribs like the steering wheel, especially on the way back, good. Now, of course, if you would like, you can hold and then extend the legs and then drag them back and then bend, other side, extend and drag them back. Good, couple more. And back. Now you can always try keeping them straight the whole time, but notice how it's tempting to kind of not go as far or overshoot and use the back, right? So if you try it and you're like, oh, that's scary, or oh, that's uncomfortable, don't do it, right? You can always keep the knees bent, make sure you feel nice and stable and secure, and then extend, right? Last one. Trying to keep the shoulder and the ribs down. Good. And bring your legs back to tabletop. Press your feet into that imaginary wall so your hamstrings kick on, inner thighs are still squeezing, and find your neutral pelvis, right? So where your hip bones and pubic bone are on one plane, and then all we're doing is lowering the lower back, curling the tailbone towards our face and then coming back, okay? So it's less about pulling the knees in and more about moving the spine. So soften the ribs, curl the tailbone, and then back. Good. Beautiful, everybody. If you're like, hip flexors are really trying to help, you can always just come back to feet on the floor, imprint, and then neutral, okay? Then you can always think about just one leg, and then you can always switch, right? So for any reason your back doesn't like this version of it, or your hip flexors are trying to help a whole lot, you are welcome to do a different variation. Good. Now, if you'd like, when you curl, point your knees towards one shoulder and then back, and then point them towards the other shoulder. And feel the difference from side to side. Good. Everybody's obliques kicking on? Yeah. Beautiful. 2 more. Last one. Bring your legs back to tabletop. Interlace your hands behind your head. Come into your chest lift. Good. Now, if you're like me and you have trouble getting up, bring your hands forward, and then you can bring those hands back. Now, push your feet into an imaginary surface to start to straighten the legs. Bend them, rotate to one side. Yep. Rotate your torso towards one side. Yeah. Come back to center and rotate. Good. So a lot of times we do crisscross, right? Which is one leg extends, one knee stays bent, which you can always do. If crisscross is a better variation for you today, that's fine. If marching with rotation is a better variation for you today, that's also great, all right? The both legs with the rotation is trickier. Good. Trying to keep both hips nice and still. 2. Last one. Come back to center. Push one foot away from you as the other leg extends. Yep. Bend both knees. Yeah. And again. Now you can always put your head down if that feels better for you, okay? No problem. Or you can come up, do a couple, and then put your head down. Yeah. And if you like, you can then rotate to one side. Good. Almost there. Good, everybody. Still trying to find the back of your legs to help you here. 2 more. Last one. Hug your knees in towards your chest and go ahead, rock them side to side. All right, yes, we are going to do some teaser variations. Hands behind your thighs, press and roll up. Let's talk about teasers. So first, let's just do a thing, okay? So go ahead, flatten out through your back. Lift one leg, whether your hand is here, here, or here, I do not care. Other side. Now holding that flattened back position, let go. And then bring your hands back. That was a lot of quad and a lot of hip flexor, right? Yeah, that face, I feel it too. So now this time we're gonna try this with a curled tailbone, okay? So find your abs first, curl your tailbone. Good. Bring a leg up, other leg. Shoulders just down, squeeze your inner thighs together. See if you can let go, find your abs more. Yeah, and then bring it down. So if you ever see the people on Pilates magazine and they're like, it's because they just get into it for a second, they snap it, and then that's it. So what we're gonna do is try to find a teaser that is challenging but feels good in our bodies, okay? So we're gonna squeeze our inner thighs. We're gonna think about those thigh bones suction cupping up into the socket, hands forward. Yeah. Now curl your tailbone and rock behind it and hold. Yeah. Now, all we're gonna do, think about pushing our feet away from us, hands start to come back, feet want to start lifting. Maybe they lift, maybe they don't, and then you can come back. That might be what you do today. Squeeze your inner thighs, press your heels into the ground, don't worry about lifting your feet. Good. So tuck your tailbone for me. Curl, yeah, like we're doing a roll up, yes. And then we just take those hands behind us. Yeah, good. And then we can bring forward. Good, one more like that. So once again, it's a curl, a tuck, a roll, like the ball is rolling back. If you flatten out, it's gonna be a lot of back. Look, tuck, tuck, tuck. Yes, that. And then hands. Maybe your feet lift, maybe they don't. And then legs down. Now we have so many options. You guys ready? We're just going to do some roll-ups that just happen to add on. If you just want to stick with roll-ups, stick with roll-ups. Cool? So hands come forward, reach your feet away, curl your pelvis off your thigh bones. Yeah. And then let's all just do one roll-up. Curl, melt, roll. So we did this earlier with our knees bent, feet flat. If that is what worked for you, do that, okay? Yeah, perfect. Now, if you're like, yeah, cool, I'd like to add on, please. Great. Think about one foot reaching away from you, and maybe it lifts. Yeah. And then push that foot away from you, drive it into the ground, and then you do the other side. But you're still curling, right? It's a roll, and then back. Now maybe you're like, yeah, I'd like to start incorporating both legs. Great, drag your heels towards you, and maybe your feet lift. Good. Yeah. But even if the legs move, even if they don't, it's still the same thing we're doing with our spine, right? And then if you want, you squeeze your inner thighs together like a mermaid fin. You push your feet away from you and both feet will lift, right? And then you push them away as you roll down. Couple more. And if this isn't for you today, no problem. If you're ready to Shavasana, also no problem, right? Last one. And then feet together, knees apart, relax over your legs. Nice. Let's go ahead and come onto all fours. I'll wait. Yeah. So first, we're actually just going to bring our hands to the ground and just lift the heel of our hands and then let them drop back down. Then lift and lower. So we're just warming up our wrist a little bit. Yeah. And if for any reason this doesn't feel okay to be on your wrist, you can always be on your fists or your forearms. Two more. Last one. Now hold the hands down, find your neutral spine, and just sink your entire spine towards the ground. Feel how your shoulder blades come together. Now think about a little external rotation from your armpit, push into the ground to lift your entire spine. but without a Halloween cat. So it's just the whole spine moving in one piece. And then sink it back down in one piece. Try to maintain a position on the floor that you're looking the whole time. Good. Last one, hold. Think about, like without actually moving them, imagine dragging the heels of your hands towards your hips to engage your abs a little bit more. And then slide one foot out. Push into the heel. Hold. Drive the foot down, squeeze your glute, slide your other foot out to meet it. Good, yeah. Stay there. Lengthen through your ears as opposed to dropping them. Yes, and then belly button up just a tiny bit. Yes. Good. Iris, tuck your tailbone just a hair. Good. Lengthen through your ears, don't drop your head. Yes. Awesome. Tuck your tailbone for me just a little bit. Like yeah, but then up. Yeah. Is that more ab? Yeah, good. Nancy, that looks great. Shoulder blades together just a tiny bit. Yes. Now, bend one knee. Reach it out. Other side. Now, hey, if you need to, you use that moment as a rest, and then you bring it out. And then you do the other side. Still pulling the belly button up, up, up. One more each side. And then knees down. Press yourselves into a little rest position. Feel free to roll your wrists out. Good. And then take your hands up and over to one side. Push your hips away. And then we get to do the other side. Coming back to center, you have the option of being on your hands or your forearms. You guys ready? Ready to rock? Great. My wrists aren't loving like the pressure on them, so I'm gonna be on my forearms today, but it is harder on the abs. So push your hands or forearms into the floor to lift your ribs. Slide one foot out, other foot comes to meet it, widen your feet slightly. Now, if you need to be on your knees, is that okay? Heck yeah, it's great. So just rotate to one side, finding your side plank. Yeah, if you're on your knee, that's okay. Making sure the ribs are sliding, good. Using that bottom glute, top inner thigh, gorgeous. And then we rotate to center. And then other way. Bottom glute, top inner thigh, lifting the ribs, good. And then we get to do the other side. Now the one thing I really want you to think about here is pushing the floor away. A lot of times we kind of sink into our shoulder. If we push the floor away, hug that armpit muscle down, it's a more solid position. Yeah, back to center, and then the other side. And then back to center. Lovely, everybody, you're all amazing. Knees down, bring your elbows back. Now you're in a quadruped. Lift your ribs slightly. Extend one foot. Yeah. Good. Now, I want you to actually wiggle your foot, relax your thigh a little bit, and then push your heel into an imaginary wall. Squeeze your glute. See where your leg comes. Typically, if you're not getting lumbar extension, typically it's going to stop at about parallel, okay? Now inhale, exhale, just squeeze the glute more, and a little more. So we're doing tiny, little, baby squeezes. Beautiful. Now, this looks great. Actually, you all look pretty fantastic. This is where you say, I know. But all I want you to do is check in with that stabilizing leg. Make sure it hasn't crossed your midline, but is still pressing down and out. We have 4, 3, 2, hold. Tiny circles. Now, let's think about the foot moving. Now, let's think about the thigh bone moving. What recruits the glute for you more? For me, it's the thigh bone. 3, 2, and then reverse. Good. And also remember, breaks are great. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, we're gonna bend the knee and then slide it out to the side. Push it back behind you. Bend it in, slide it out to the side, push it back behind you. Good, a few more this way. As the knee slides out, think of widening through your sits bones a little bit. Nice. Good. And also, if you need a second, take one. Otherwise, we have one more like this, and then we get to reverse it. So push, bring it to the elbow, in, and slide. If for any reason one of these angles doesn't feel okay in your hip, don't do it, right? If you've had hip impingement, or you're like, ooh, there's something structurally that won't let me move this way, you can avoid it. 2 more. So as much as that working leg is working, everybody feel that stabilizing side the most? Yeah. And then bring it on in. Press yourselves into that rest position. I have wonderful news, everybody. We get to do the other side. If you're like, why is that wonderful news? I'll tell you why. Otherwise, it would be the same side again. And I feel like opposite side is much, much more fun. All right, so bring those knees underneath you, press down and out. Same, and extend the leg. Now just think about squeezing the glute until the leg comes about parallel with your hip. And then exhale, maybe squeeze the glute a little more. And then tiny little baby squeezes. Gorgeous. And yes, we want to make sure that the glute on that moving leg is really what's initiating the movement. So it's not just lower back. But what I'd like you to think about the most is, yes, that stabilizing side. We have 4, 3, 2, and we circle. And you can first think about the foot and then think about the thigh bone and see what recruits the most muscle, right? Good. 4, 3, slow and juicy, 2, and then reverse. I was telling my boyfriend's kid about when the sweatpants that said juicy across the bum was like all the rage. And they were just like, yeah, what? I'm like, yeah. So every time I use that word, I can't even think about anything else. 2 more. And then you can bend the knee, brush it out to the side, push it behind you, and then let it slowly bend. And then brush wide, good. Press, think of this in several pieces. Bend the knee, move 1. Push the knee out to the side, move 2. Push the foot behind you, move 3. Just made a triangle, and then bend. Good. Brush out. And out. Last one. And then we get to reverse it. So we bend, bring it in, and then push back. Still 3 parts. Bend, hold, brush in, hold, push back, hold. Good. Almost there. And out. Last one. And bend both knees, press yourself into your rest position, and slide yourself out long across the floor. Hey, guess what? We have a pillow that you can choose to use. Now, you can either keep this bottom leg extended, or if you'd like a little bit more support, feel free to bend it forward, okay? Now take your hand and place it on your hip, and think about pushing your hip down toward your foot so much that the foot actually moves. Try to touch the mirror with your top foot only. Yeah, keep going, keep pushing, yes, did you feel? Yeah, so good, right? So think about if we're standing, we've got that center line, that straight spine, we're trying to just find that, right? Now, let that top leg lift to hip height. And then glance down at your foot. If you see your whole foot, bring it back in space just a little bit. Yeah. Everybody feel that glute kicking on now? Yes. Good. If you're like, no, see if you can get it to like join the party, right? Now keep pushing that foot away as you trace a wall, and then squeegee down, getting that inner thigh to join us. Push it away, glute, glute, glute. Inner thigh, yeah. A few more here. Now, one thing we want to make sure that we're doing is trying to stabilize through the pelvis and low back. Because if we're like this, well, then we're actually using our back to lift our leg as opposed to the glute, right? So just like we don't want the foot to travel forward because that is our TFL trying to do the work, we don't want the hip to hike, right? We're trying to make a muscle that likes to let other things do its job, trying to make it do its job. It's getting ready for its performance review. Good. 2 more. Last one. Now go ahead, bring that knee in front of you. And then think about, oh, that bottom leg. Drag it back behind you just a little, and then push it so far that it starts to lift. Hold. And then tiny little squeezes of that inner thigh. Good. 5, 4. Trying to use the whole inner thigh, not just the groin. 3, 2, hold. Now the only thing we're going to change, externally rotate. So the toes point down. And then drag up again. Boom. Boom. Yeah, amazing, everybody. 4. Feel how that changes where you feel the work? And all you did was let your thigh bone move. 2. Last one. Let the leg come down. Bend both knees. Yeah. Now let your top hand, now I don't know why I got rid of my pillow. Let your top hand reach forward, and then it can come back. And then let it reach forward. This should feel pretty gentle and easy. Then allow it to reach back. You guys, your faces. It's like every time we do something gentle and easy, it's like you don't trust it. You're like, what's coming next? Maybe something gentle and easy. Or maybe we hold that arm open, get rid of the prop, hands behind your head, and just give a tiny little lift, right? So you're facing up and then slowly lower. Now, for example, I don't have a lot of rotation in my spine, so I'm actually going to let my hips kind of rotate back a tiny bit so I can get a little bit more lift. Okay, I still want your shoulders pointing mostly towards the sky, but if your knees aren't on the ground, that's okay. 4, 3, 2 more. Last one, hold. Hands can come forward, push into your imaginary surface, hands back behind your head, and just lift your legs. Oh, it's a balance challenge. So now you're on your hip, and then you can tap your toes and lift. Yep, there. Yeah. Good, right, just like that. Two more. Could you do this with one leg instead? Yeah. Last one. And then guess what? Other side. So you guys can just roll over. I'm gonna flip all the way over. That bottom leg can be extended or bent, but take that top hip bone, slide it so far away that the foot moves with it. Close the ribs, and then float the leg just in line. Glance at your foot. If it's forward, drag it back. Hold as if it's pushing into an imaginary surface, and then paintbrush it up a wall, trying not to let the ribs slide down. And then squeegee. Yeah. Everybody feel their glute at the top? Iris, bring your heel back in space a little bit, babe. Heel. Yeah. Good. Is that a little bit more glute? Good. Yeah. You guys, I can't believe our hour is almost up. I'm like, and I had so much planned. 4, 3. Good. 2 more. Last one. And then you can bend that knee. Inhale. Exhale, just float that other leg up. And tiny little baby lift and lowers. Once again, we're trying to think of the whole inner thigh, not just the groin. 4, 3, 2, hold. The only thing we're going to do is externally rotate. So toes point down. Yeah, there you go, Nancy. Heel point up, toe point down. There, and up. You're welcome. 4, good. 3, yeah. How's everybody doing? Good? Yeah. Last one, bend both your knees. Take your top arm, reach it forward, and then open. And then again. It's getting a little bit more movement through that spine. Don't force it into a range that's too aggressive. Or if you're very hypermobile, maybe temper your range 5 to 10%. Last one. And then we bring our hands behind our head. So hands behind your head. And once again, you don't have to have your knees fully on the ground. You can always roll it back a little. Exhale, curl. Hands come forward a little if you need to, and then lift. And then head comes back down. Now try not to move your knees as you curl. Good. Curl and hold. Now I'm balancing behind the widest part of my hip. I'm actually balancing on my cheek. 2 more. Last one, hold. Now if it's appropriate, keep balancing on your cheek. Oh, I'm gonna need to be on my mat for this. Bring your legs to tabletop. And then you can tap and up. One side might be more exciting than the other. That's okay. Is this your exciting side or your easy side? This is 100% my exciting side. 2. Last one. Bring your feet down, roll onto your stomach. Suction cup your hands to the floor, and then draw your armpits down your back. Press your hands into the ground, lengthen through your ears, and keep pressing with one hand, squeeze the opposite glute. And then other side. We're just trying to see if we can connect that lat to that glute. Last one, each side. Now, shoulders relax. You can slide your elbows back a little. Press your hands into the floor, open your collarbones forward. Yeah, gorgeous. And then slide one hand forward and back, other side. Now, if for some reason you sink into your shoulder or your hips want to rotate, you don't actually have to slide that far, right? Or you don't have to keep your hand fully on the ground. Also use your breath. So I, for example, have one side that's like, yeah, this is easy, no problem. And the other side where it's like, what do you mean you want to move this? So inhale, exhale. Use your breath. Good. Last one. Good. And then bring your hands closer in towards you. Think of pulling the hands back to lengthen the crown of your head forward. Now, find your abs. Keep your pubic bone heavier than your hip bones here. Shoulder blades draw down your back. Start to press your hands into the ground a little bit, and then come back down. Now, you might notice that I can kind of come up kind of far, but if you look at my back, I'm not going into a ton of lumbar extension. I'm actually using my core to limit the amount of extension that my back is getting, right? But if you need to be out here, that's great. I used to have to be here. It's okay, honor where your body is, right? Two more, yeah. Don't be afraid to keep those glutes active. And then press yourselves into a rest position. Let your back relax. And then take your hands up and over to one side. Press your hips away from your hands. And then we get to do the other side. And don't worry, we're still going to do a tiny bit of balance work. I could tell you were concerned. We're going to come all the way to standing. Now, if one leg at a time is really tricky, please feel free to keep both feet on the ground. If you have a squishy mat, it's more of a balance challenge than being on a stable surface. So just see where you are, okay? So if you're like, I'm not sure, keep both feet on the ground, let your feet wibble wobble, and then press your feet into the ground, lifting your inner thighs, squeeze them together, and then you can try moving your head, and then try moving your head. Yeah, if you're like, too easy, great. You can try that with your eyes closed. Or not, it's okay. I'm not gonna come blindfold any of you, I promise. If you're like, well, that's also too easy. One leg is fine. I don't recommend immediately closing your eyes on one leg. Good. Beautiful. Sometimes one leg's easier, right? And then we get to do the other side. It's also interesting to let your feet wiggle, right? So that just tells your nervous system, oh, if my feet wiggle, I'm safe. That's all right. Inner thighs, glutes, deep abdominals, and then you look from one side to the other. Yeah. And then maybe you lift a foot. Yeah. Maybe you lift a foot and close your eyes. Nope, not on this side. Yeah. Good. I didn't see anything. It's all fine. You can't tell I just smiled at you. Yeah. I forget that you can't see my smile because I see all of your faces. One last one. Good. Bring both feet down. We're just going to nod our chin, hollow and roll, letting everything relax. And then scoop and bring yourselves all the way back up. Open your thumbs out behind you so your collarbones can extend. And then relax down. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for joining me. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're all amazing. Oh,